Welcome back, everyone. We have an update from Maritime Launch Services, Inc., trades on the OTCQB under the symbol MAXQF and on the NEO under the symbol MAXQ. It's a Canadian-owned commercial space company developing Spaceport Nova Scotia, a launch site that will provide satellite delivery services to clients in support of the growing commercial space transportation industry over a wide range of inclinations. Happy to welcome President CEO Stephen Mathieu. But before we get to Stephen, let's roll the video.
Every day we go to space when that pitch goes well, when the client calls back, when Emma orders pizza. But space is more than just an emoji. The global space economy is skyrocketing, expecting to reach $1 trillion per year by 2040. The time to invest is now. Spaceport Nova Scotia is Canada's first commercial spaceport, the only commercial launch site in North America, ready to help solve the planet's greatest challenges, taking your portfolio to new heights.
All right, Stephen, welcome back to the conference. Give us your update. If we have time, we'll take some questions.
Well, thank you. I sincerely appreciate the opportunity, Anna, very much to get back here and give everyone an update. Again, I'm Steve Mathieu, President and CEO for Maritime Launch, and we are building Canada's first and only Spaceport Nova Scotia, only commercial spaceport. As you mentioned, Anna, we are on the OTCQB market under MAXQF, but NEO got renamed to CBOE Canada, just for those out there. It's under the ticker MAXQ under CBOE Canada. And I have to make the quick piece about advising listeners that this presentation may contain forward-looking statements within the meaning of applicable Canadian securities law. All statements contained therein that are not clearly historical in nature may constitute forward-looking statements. I appreciate this opportunity to be back here and presenting from February. I do recommend you go look at that version from February that is on the Emergency Growth YouTube channel. Gives a good outline of where we're going and what we're doing. The quote-unquote airport model that we're following and hosting multiple launchers to come to our facility and launch their rockets with their satellites customers on board. And something that's important for you to really pick up as we're moving this project forward is how we've adapted that new method, the airport model. So to give you an update, I think it's really best to help you understand what is what we've been talking about in the news media, and paint those pictures about how they all interconnect. What you need to do to build a spaceport is you need launch customers, you need satellite customers, you need a spaceport that's developed, you need government support, and you need the finances to be able to put it all together. So when you take a step back and look at some of the announcements and press releases and social media announcements that we've put out there, you can get a good sense of the productivity and progress that we've made. For example, we had a client come out from Europe recently touring the facility, a launch vehicle developer, quite keen to look at an opportunity to be our first lease partner at Spaceport Nova Scotia. Check box number one, looking at real positive news regarding a launcher. You're also looking at the requirements of working with the federal government here in Canada, and they've been immensely supportive of us. There was a recent news article at SpaceQ magazine, and we've been given some information about the progress on a treaty between the U.S. and Canada called a Technology Safeguard Agreement. At the end of the day, we can't launch, satellites into orbit without, agreements internationally to get satellites and launchers up here to be able to execute on our project. So having the government of Canada supportive of and working on an actual treaty that is a direct benefit to what we're doing is certainly a key part of that puzzle when you're looking at our progress and what we're up to. We have hired a new CFO, Phil Jones, delighted to have him on board. Exceptional experience working with companies in similar growth stages. Love having his experience as we move into the operations and revenue generation portion of the show. We announced that we'll be hosting a suborbital launch later this summer, another exercise in training our team and development of how we're going to do operations, controlling airspace, waterways, working with our federal partners, Transport Canada, NAV Canada, to be able to do that launch. We signed an agreement recently with Impulso Space. They're based in Florida. Guess what they do? They work on satellites. They're a mission integration company that bundles satellites into cargo bays to be able to be delivered to launch vehicles as they're being processed for launch. Delighted to have Impulso as a partner working with us to provide some of that source of satellites to be able to come up here to Canada. We've also announced an agreement with the Spaceport company. We've inked a letter of intent with them, and that's looking at leasing a containerized tracking and telemetry station. So you launch a rocket, you got to track where it's going to go. The satellite clients wants to know when their satellites are deployed. So having that capability to regulate a launch, to get satellites up here, to have a launcher in place, to be able to launch and then track it as it's leaving, kind of gives you a pretty good idea of what we've been up to over the last few months and the progress we're making. Really looking forward to these coming months and through the remainder of the year. So we've put together a detailed activity, business plan, cost plan to complete the build out of Spaceport Nova Scotia in support of the launch activity commencing in Q2 or so 2025. Excited to be working with Phil and my team on the development and execution of that plan. We continue to work on various business development activities that will drive revenue related activities later this year. And we look forward to releasing our Q1 financial results here on May 15th in just a week from today. So one of the things that I've gotten a lot of questions about, and Anna, you'll have to stop me, I'll go way over the time allotment, so intervene when you need to, is really talking about what our spaceport will look like for the future. There's a lot of interest we're getting, people wanting to know what activities happening on site, what's going on out there. And the spaceports of the future don't look like Kennedy Space Center. That's just black and white. There was a client a couple of years ago that did a launch from a laptop at a Starbucks. It's real. So the enormous amount of infrastructure that's needed, that's not required necessarily to be a successful launch operator. You don't need the massive vehicle assembly buildings and all that other sorts of infrastructure. A lot of these small launchers are really enabling launch by showing up with trailers that basically unpack, launch, and go. So you can't expect to see massive amounts of construction on our facility coming up because it's not necessarily. We have an access road. We have a launch pad already in place, a concrete pad. We have portable power we could put in place. We could conceivably do an orbital launch today based on the infrastructure we have. We do need ground tracking. We do need some of those kinds of things that we're getting in place right now. But all in all, the spaceport of the future is not going to look like the spaceports of the past. So, we are transitioning from, having one launcher to a multi-launch facility. We're working on design and layout for how we're going to accommodate multiple launchers onto our facility and working with our government partners to make sure that all the T's and I's are crossed and dotted associated with that. But that's kind of a snapshot of where we're going and looking forward to on the future. That's kind of a shotgun approach. Happy to answer other questions, though.
Great job, Stephen. Yes, we have a little bit of time left. You did mention the spaceport of the future. So this is clearly not the spaceport we know in Cape Canaveral. So expand on this a bit further. What does this look like?
Well, a lot of these launch client companies, as I started to talk about, they really show up and they're containerized. So they've got a launch vehicle in one container. They've got propellants and gas system transfer panels in another. They've got a launch control center in a third one. So do I need to build a massive LCC? No, I do need a launch control center. I do need payload processing facility, those kinds of things. But as far as the grandiose major flame trenches and all those kinds of things, it is definitely going to look different than how things have been in the past.
And let's talk a little bit about Q3. What are some of your priorities and what positive momentum can investors expect to see?
Well, we certainly have a lot of activity in work as we speak regarding going into the summer and into the fall. We do, as I alluded to, we have the suborbital launch, of course, later this summer. That'll be another activity that's helping with training and collaborating with our government partners and how we're going to execute on these things. We will get some building activity underway. In particular, we've finalizing plans for our ground station, finalizing plans for a payload processing facility, and looking to get that underway. We will be looking to extend our roads a little bit further down to a dedicated area for multiple launchers, right? So we had one launcher in mind before. Now we're redesigning a little bit to be able to put in pad site plans for multiple launchers.
And last question for you, will there be any major construction to the spaceport this summer, or do funds need to be secured before this can take place?
We are pulling together everything we need to execute this year. There is going to be construction activity on site. The term major is what I'm trying to get people to really wrap their heads around, because it's not the spaceport of the past. As I said, we could actually execute on our Pathfinder launch with a client almost with just the infrastructure we already have in place. So we're selectively building what our clients need us to build for them to be able to launch here. We need to have some of the support equipment at the launch pad, of course. We do need to have a way to process payloads for our clients to be able to put them into their satellites into the rockets itself. But there is absolutely planned activity for later this year.
Well, thank you so much for coming on with this update. Exciting times for you guys, and we hope to follow along with your future updates.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Anna.
Thanks, Stephen. Okay, everyone stay with us. We'll be back at 4:25 Eastern with Imuron Limited.